Hello, Grace. Welcome back to our reading plan. Today is July 13th, and we're looking at Psalm 120, 121, 123, 125, and 126. So we're skipping a few Psalms in today's reading. Now, I want to always remind us that the Psalms are God's prayer book for his people, Israel, Jerusalem. Jesus used this as his prayer book, as we see in the New Testament, and we can use it as well. But these particular Psalms are used on a certain situation at a certain time and for certain people. So if we look at the title of these Psalms, it gives us an idea of when they're supposed to be used. Each of these Psalms says at the beginning, a song for pilgrims ascending to Jerusalem. So that means that these Psalms are supposed to be prayed and sang as people are coming from their towns where they live, whether it's in northern Israel, in Galilee, or beyond the Jordan, wherever they were coming from to worship at the temple for their annual pilgrimage. They were to be worshiping the Lord on the way, right? And here's the point, and here's what I want to highlight for you. Don't wait till you're in the temple to worship the Lord. Worship begins before where the temple begins, when we're in our home, and the reminders that they are telling themselves is almost each of these Psalms talks about looking to the Lord for help. Our eyes are fixed on the Lord. Other people look to the mountains. That's what Psalm 121 says. I look up to the mountains. Does my help come from there? A lot of people would go up to the mountains and offer sacrifices on their shrines. Other countries would go up to these idolatrous temples that were often on top of mountains, and they would look for their help. But the Psalm in 121 says, no, my help comes from the Lord who made the mountains, who made heaven and earth. And so each of these Psalms reminds us in some way that we are to look to the Lord all times, that he is present not just in Jerusalem, but he's present here, he's present with me now, he's present wherever we go, he's present in my hometown, and I look to him alone for worship. Now, I bring this up because for us, sometimes we worship just at church, and we don't worship where we go, wherever we're at. We don't worship at work, we don't worship at home. But this reminds me a little bit of Jesus' teaching. When he says in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, if your brother has something against you while you're offering your sacrifice at the temple, leave your offering there and go be reconciled to your brother, and then come back to offer your offering. What is that saying? Is that our heart, we want to make sure our heart is right before the Lord, that we're not coming and not approaching the Lord with just flippancy and ambivalence. We don't really have a heart for worship for the Lord. But Jesus teaches that we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to live rightly, so that we can be in a good emotional and a good heart spot for the Lord to be able to worship with us as we go to church this Sunday. Why don't we pray before we go? Why don't we look at the Psalms before we enter the service? Why don't we prepare our hearts to worship and pray for the pastor and pray for the worship team and pray for the people next to us, so that we can experience the goodness of God as we enter into his presence as a community. But we don't have to wait until we're at church to enter into his presence. We can, as the Psalms suggest here, we can look to the Lord wherever we're at and worship him while we're walking to church, while we're at work, while we're at home, wherever we are. Because the Lord is our help. Not the temple, not the church. The Lord is our help. I hope you enjoyed the reading today. God bless you.